I was clearing brush on my own lakefront ranch when she came storming down the trail, clipboard in one hand, phone in the other, yelling that I was trespassing on protected HOA land. Problem is, there's no HOA here. I own every inch of it still. She called the cops like I was some kind of criminal. The sirens echoed across the water, but I didn't panic, because I'd already sent out a text to my old Marine crew. When the deputies arrived, so did my brothers 8 deep, in lifted trucks and boots that had seen combat. Karen froze. She thought she could push around a rancher. She didn't expect a unit of Marines with legal deeds, drone footage, and a stack of evidence proving she was the trespasser. She picked a fight with the wrong man, on the wrong land, and brought the law into it. We brought the truth and a whole lot of backup. It was supposed to be a quiet return home to the lake ranch I'd bought after retiring from the Marines, a 40-acre slice of heaven tucked along a pristine shoreline surrounded by nothing but pine trees, silence, and freedom. I'd served 22 years, including 5 combat tours, and all I wanted now was to fish off my dock, fix up the old barn, and enjoy the view without chaos. That peace lasted exactly 3 days before Karen, from the newly formed unofficial HOA, decided I didn't belong. It started with petty stuff notes in my mailbox about my fence-violating community aesthetic, complaints about my dock being too long, even though it'd been there since 1958, and bizarre accusations that I was polluting the lake. With my old Ford pickup parked near the shore, I laughed it off at first, assuming it was just a nosy neighbor with too much time on her hands. But the situation escalated fast when Karen began bringing clipboard-toting inspectors to pace my property lines like I didn't know where they were. The final straw came on a sunny Thursday morning when I was chainsawing a fallen oak near the southern edge of my land. I'd just put the saw down when Karen came marching down the hill with her phone pointed at me, recording. "You're trespassing," she shrieked. "This area is part of the protected greenbelt, and I'm reporting you to the HOA and the police." I wiped sweat from my brow, calmly walked over, and pointed to the bronze survey marker embedded in a nearby rock, proof it was well within my land. She refused to look. "We passed an ordinance last month. You're in violation of Code 8B17, she yelled. I asked to see it. She refused. Then she screamed, "I'm calling the cops." I shrugged and went back to work. 10 minutes later, I heard the sirens. 2 sheriff's cruisers pulled up on the gravel road by my barn, lights blazing. The deputies were professional, apologetic, even, but said they had to respond to a trespassing complaint and environmental damage report filed by the Lakeview Meadows HOA. I raised an eyebrow. "There's no Lakeview Meadows HOA, I said flatly. "Not legally. This land is unincorporated, and my ranch predates every house within a 10-mile radius." One deputy scratched his head and muttered something about seeing my paperwork. I told them to wait a second. I went inside, pulled out the original deed, military veteran homestead exemption, and a certified topographical map showing my boundaries. When I returned, they were talking with Karen, who now had 3 other neighbors standing behind her like some kind of civilian firing squad. "He built that dock without permit. His barn's not compliant, and he's storing firearms on site," Karen said dramatically. I didn't flinch. I pointed to the same papers and said, "All of this is pre-zoning. You're looking at original development, land private, unrestricted. I don't need a permit to breathe here." The younger deputy nodded. "He's right," he told Karen. "This isn't HOA jurisdiction." She screamed that they were ignoring code enforcement and vowed to take this to the board. "What board?" I asked, amused. "You're just a group of neighbors with clipboards and a printer." She stomped away, threatening lawsuits. The deputies apologized again and left. But something in Karen's eyes told me this wasn't over. So, I made a call. Not to lawyers, not to local zoning. I texted the brothers, the guys I'd served with. We called ourselves the Ruck Pack. After we got out, most of us stayed in touch. Some ran businesses, others became law enforcement or went into security. But one thing united us. If one of us called for help, we showed up. Always. I didn't say much, just sent a picture of Karen yelling at the cops and wrote, "Need a few eyes on this. She's trying to steal land." Within minutes, replies flooded in. "Say no more. We're rolling in." "What's the GPS?" Over the next 24 hours, one by one, they arrived. First was Reggie, the logistics guy, pulling a tricked-out off-road RV with solar panels and surveillance gear. Then came Tomas, in a lifted Jeep Wrangler, towing a trailer of tools and generators. Chase showed up with his drone rig and high-res cameras. By Saturday morning, we had 6 tents set up near the dock, running cums, grilling meat, and swapping war stories. Karen's face the next day was priceless. She arrived, phone in hand, and froze when she saw USA dozen military vets setting up what looked like a training base. "This is an invasion," she shouted. "I'm calling the National Guard." "They'd probably join us," Tomas muttered. Then came her next mistake. She marched up to the boundary line and demanded, "We cease all construction activities." Reggie held up a noise permit. "This is ranch land. We're within our rights to run generators." "You need to disband this militia," she screamed. We laughed. "This is a barbecue," I said. "And we're veterans, not vigilantes." But Karen didn't care. That night she called the local news. The reporter came out, hoping for some drama. But after seeing my documents and interviewing the neighbors, the tone changed. Especially when I showed footage from Chase's drones crossing my fence line, harassing wildlife, and even pulling survey markers out of the ground. I filed a formal complaint the next day, but that wasn't all. Reggie dug into county records and found that Karen's little HOA had never registered properly. Worse, she'd been collecting dues from residents and pocketing the money. When we confronted her with that in front of the local HOA liaison, she went white. She tried to lie, but Chase showed the receipts. Literally, residents began demanding refunds. Several admitted she'd bullied them into signing documents under pressure. That evening, my entire Marine crew stood on the dock, beers in hand, watching the sunset as Karen's authority unraveled like a cheap rug. But the storm wasn't over. Karen made one last move: a legal notice posted on my gate claiming violation of development covenants and a threat of a $10,000 fine. I smiled, folded the paper, and said, "She wants war. Let's go full Marine."